Hi, my friends. Welcome to the Cleanweb Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Woon Tan, and today we've got the Do Nation and Hermione Taylor and Martin Warne.
We'll get that.
I'm really glad to have Hermione and Martin here today. They are from the Do Nation, and Hermione, you're the founding director of the Do Nation, and you've been working for you've worked for the Do Nation since January 2010.
Yeah.
And what is the Do Nation?
Long time. It's making me realise it's nearly 5 years. It's terrifying. The Do Nation it's all about sustainable lifestyles and helping people to form healthy, environmentally friendly habits. We work with businesses, helping them to save money by engaging their employees in saving energy, and whilst also doing good, sustainable, healthy actions, as I said before. We've also got a non-profit arm, which is actually what most people probably know us for, because that's what I've been doing since.
Because that's where you started off.
Yeah, confusingly, they both come under the name The Do Nation. Actually, they're two quite distinct products: Donate by Doing and Do Good for Business. Do Good for Business is where we work with companies. That's been going for just over a year. Donate by Doing is what I've been doing for almost 5 years. And that is working with individuals, allowing them to raise sponsorship through actions instead of cash. So it's much like Just Giving or Virgin Money Giving. People go and do crazy challenges like marathons or skiing to the South Pole, cycling across the Himalayas, all sorts of things people have done. And they set up a page on our website where they can ask their friends to sponsor them.
And they sponsor by doing sustainable...
No money changes hands, no one enters their credit card details or anything. Instead, their friends pledge to do something in return for this big challenge. And it might be cycling to work, it might be eating local seasonal food, using less plastic bottles, buying sustainable clothing, or all sorts. And then our site calculates how much carbon they'll save from doing that, and it adds it all up. So the person, if they're running a marathon, instead of saying I want to raise £1,000, they can say I want to save 1,000 kilos of carbon from all of your actions.
Sweet. And Martin, you're obviously the Chief Technology Officer for the Do Nation. You've been you're the web developer, and according to your website, you've got 5 main areas of focus: Cleanweb, web development, behavior change, Internet of Things, and tangible interfaces. And obviously, you are a co-organizer of Cleanweb UK. Welcome to the show. And should we? Let's go back to what you sort of mentioned about the Do Nation, Donate by Doing. How has it sort of started? And that's a good place to start. What got you started?
Starting at the beginning. So I was studying a master's in environmental technology. It was really environmental policy, but a bit of a misnomer. There was nothing technology based around it.
Some Excel.
Yeah, that's a bit of Excel. So I was studying that really with the aim of going into environmental policy and working for government or a big corporate. But I started looking at behaviour change for my thesis and realised just how important a thing it was. And it frustrated me that it was receiving so little attention, and there's actually so little we could do about it, because what really struck me was our behaviours hold a big part of the solution. There's a huge amount that we can do, and the impact of that could be quite significant. 42% of the UK's carbon emissions are a result of individuals' actions at home and in personal travel, not at work, not the government's problem, but ours at home and travel. And that I found really powerful, because it made me realise just how much impact can be had from behaviour change. And at the same time, a lot of it just made so much sense. By boiling less water in the kettle, you're saving time, and everyone hates waiting for the kettle to boil. By cycling to work, I feel great. You get fit, you it's a much more enjoyable commute. You save money and you save a bit of carbon. So all of these things, they just made so much sense, yet there was no way to encourage friends and family to do them and to tell people about these things they should be doing without sounding like a real environmental preacher bore, and probably alienating myself from a lot of my mates and family. I had a particular incident when I tried to encourage my dad to compost his tea bag that ended up in a big family row and tears. So I decided that the direct telling people what to do approach doesn't work. You've got to be more subtle than that. So that's kind of where my mindset was, and at the same time I decided that at the end of the Masters I wanted to go on a really big challenge and adventure, and decided with a friend to cycle to Morocco. And whilst that was going to be an amazing adventure, I wanted to do it. I realised it'd be a big challenge and wanted to do it for a good cause. And the cause was obviously going to be sustainability. But I felt uncomfortable asking people for money. Going down that traditional route was what people would expect. But yeah, I felt uncomfortable asking my friends for money. They didn't have much. It was the beginning of the credit crunch and all of that. But mainly I realised that actually the environment needed that action more than their money. So I decided to ask people to sponsor me with action by doing things like composting those tea bags, or cycling to work, or walking up the stairs instead of taking the lifts, eating less meat, all sorts of things. But by asking them in a way that was saying, I'm doing this challenge, please pick one of these actions, whichever one you fancy, to support me, it was less direct and preachy, and it really worked, and people got excited by it. And 216 friends sponsored my friend and I, Sarah and I, and by doing so saved the same amount of carbon as 16 flights. No, not 16 flights. They saved 16 tons of carbon, which is the same as 84 flights from London to Morocco, whilst we were just two of us cycling there, saving 2 flights. So I've just gone on about that way more than I planned to, but that was where it all started.
Yeah, that's a really inspiring story, because it's just something it's a change in mindset and how people support you in what you believe in.
Yeah, and actually I think people felt, in terms of how they supported us, they felt like they'd supported us a lot more than if they'd just given a £5, or even if they'd given 50 quid or 100 quid. Like, they'd have given it and then forgotten about it. But because they were actively engaged and they'd pledged to do these actions for the whole time we were away, which was 2 months,
there's more accountability there, I think.
Yeah, and they felt a part of our challenge. Like, they almost felt like they'd been there with us, It sounds cheesy to say they were on the challenge with us, but when I got back, everyone was so much more engaged than I'd ever imagined they would have been. And people... Like, a lot of my mum's friends still say, when I see them, they're like, oh, I think about you whenever I do my washing. I remember to put it on 30. I'm like, great. Really honoured that every time you do your dirty laundry, you think of me. But yeah, it makes those unexpected mental connections, which almost, or I guess, stick in your mind more. And yeah. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but...
Yeah. I mean, the thing that amazed me about when she first told me about, because it was just saying at this point, is the fact that, so many people nowadays from a tech perspective, when they build an MVP, they'll build some really hardcore system. This was when you were still doing it by hand, wasn't it?
Yeah. My friend Hayley developed a really basic WordPress site for us. I mean, it looked beautiful, but it was a WordPress site, and when people went to go and make a pledge, there were 10 pages, 1 page for each action, and at the bottom there was a comment form, and the fields on the comment form varied depending on what action it was. So it was kind of like, how many meat meals would he give up, or how many times would he cycle to work, and that got emailed to me. I got a little email, I cut and pasted each of the fields into a spreadsheet, crunched how much carbon would have been saved, emailed them back. I had a template, I think it was like a signature that I'd made, and so I could just fill in the gaps, and so it looked like it was all automated, but that was actually me sitting in my bedroom between writing chapters of my thesis and trying to buy bits for my bike so that I could cycle off.
So you actually were doing that while you were writing up your thesis, and
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
I think it was quite good to have a little mental break. It was quite related as well. My thesis was looking at behaviour change and pledge schemes, so there was a certain amount of synergy there. But yeah, it definitely was an MVP. When I got back and people started asking if they could use it, they're like, oh, one guy, my dad's godson, was like, I'm about to go and climb Mont Blanc. I really, like, our whole team want to raise sponsorship on it. Can we? We're doing it next month. I was like, yeah, sure. I can like redirect the emails to you so you can go into the data. And I was like, what? No way. I'm not doing it manually.
Yeah. So, Martin, you're the tech person here. What is an MVP?
MVP,
Yeah.
minimal viable product. So it's basically, say you have an idea and you want to prove it before you go build something. You build the smallest possible version you could and see if people start using that. If they do, then you say, okay, it's worth our time. Let's actually build this thing. So in Hermione's instance, I mean, she didn't even build the backend with. She was doing all of that. So it was just clearly it proved it was successful because you had 230 odd friends use it. So you kind of go, okay, this is worth something developing, and then.
So it was a proof of concept that got you sort of started it.
Yeah, before I knew what that meant. But yeah, I planned to build it all, but then I found out that was going to cost me like £20,000. So yeah, and that's where it all began. And then we did get another a version built that would do it automatically. It didn't require me to sit in my bedroom with spreadsheets. And we built it up into the donation and the brand around it, and I've had several hundred people raising sponsorship from thousands of their friends and families. As I said earlier, we had a guy skiing to the North and South Pole, which was pretty cool. We've had people doing 24-hour busks, and someone used it last weekend as an alternative wedding gift list. Like, so we weren't doing. Hopefully, it's not a challenge getting married, but they got all their friends to pledge actions for their wedding presents. So it's been used in loads of different ways. But the big challenge with it is, I mean, the marketing, getting the word out there is the big challenge. And because it doesn't generate any revenue, because we're specifically not asking for money, that's hard to do. It's a slight flaw in the plan.
Well, I think that the fact that people were really interested and engaged, I think that got you sort of continuing to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I kept getting great responses from people, and people really loving the idea and wanting to use it. And then we won a few awards and got some funding. A few grants came in, which just meant we were like, there was constantly demand to grow it, which was great. But so that's how we started to build it and why we did. And then earlier in 2012, some companies started asking us to work with them. And at the same time, we were seeing that because we weren't generating any real money through Donate by Doing, and it was all dependent on grants, it was going to be hard to grow it really significantly. And I suppose I'd been a bit naive at the beginning about how much money was needed to get something off the ground. You know, you think if you can build a website, people will come to it, or that just, no matter how great it is, that doesn't happen. You've got to put quite a bit of effort and money into marketing it. So, and making the tech good enough to scale, which I don't think we'll ask Martin about the tech of the old website, because
actually, we'll come back to that in a bit. How did you come up with the name, the donation? Because I speak to friends about this, about the donation, and they talk about it, and it's always after a while that they realize,
yeah.
it's a really brilliant name, I think.
Thank you. It was called Just Saving to begin with, and then we realised that name just wasn't any good. There were reasons for it. We thought it was good at the time, but it was confusing everyone. They thought it was a financial savings kind of advisory service, which it wasn't at all. We had endless brainstorm groups sessions trying to think of new names, and we had pages and pages and pros and cons of them all. And then literally one night I had this weird, I was walking home from a night out and I was like, it's kind of like a donation, but there's no donation. So I was trying to twist the word donation, and I turned the first 3 letters around so it was no-dation. I was like, yes, I've got it, no-dation, that's what it's going to be called, like no donation, and it spins, and I was so excited by this. And then I got home and Googled what no-dation meant, just in case I had another meeting, and it meant all tangled up in knots. I was like, that's not the best name. I think maybe I'll give up on that one, and I was really annoyed. And then suddenly, as I was lying there trying to go to sleep, I was like, hold on a minute. If I spin no-dation round, you get do-nation. And again, it took me like quite a long time to realise, hold on a minute, that's where it began. That is donation.
And when...
There we go. You probably don't know that. That's a very roundabout way I came up with the name.
When?
The short answer.
When did that happen?
When?
It must be sometime.
Oh yeah,
after.
that must have been in 2010, towards the end of 2010. It was called Just Saving for a little while, and then it was when we started designing the first site and doing the brand and like getting the logo, we realised Just Saving just wasn't going to work. So yeah, it was towards the end of 2010.
That itself is a pretty interesting story, I think.
Yeah.
News to me.
Yeah. It's causing problems now though, because we set up this new business, the Do Good for Business side of what we do. And it's the same concepts and the same mission and a lot of the same tech back end, but it's a completely different business model and a different customer base, and actually it's a completely new separate company. But we wanted to keep the name because that's kind of, it all fits within that same mission. So we've kept the same name, but it's caused massive confusion, and now we've got these 2 products with the same brand, and so we're raising a round of investment at the moment, and one of the first things we're going to do with that, there are several things we're going to do with it, but one of the early things is sorting out our branding, because we need to have some clarity.
I actually think it works well.
Yeah, just clearing up the distinction between Donate by Doing and Do Good for Business. We've had some good debates about it, so that's going to come towards the end of the year. So keep an eye out for that.
My sort of business mind tells me that that's kind of how you need to start anyway. Like, you can't go straight to a business to change the behaviors of employees if you haven't got any credibility.
Yeah,
and I
think that's helped us massively actually. So most of our competitors or other things in this space, they've worked with businesses and then trying to develop a behaviour change tool to go with that, but they haven't actually got expertise as working on behaviours, whereas we've come from the other way, and I think it's easier to, I think we're in a stronger position for that because we've got the credibility of the really hard bit, which is trying to change behaviours.
You've actually got your proven concept there that it works. So moving on. How did you sort of move on when you realized you needed to, improve on your tech side, on the website, and how did that happen then?
So, I mean, initially we went with an agency. I didn't know any techies. I don't think I'd really met a web developer before I set this up. So an agency was definitely the easier route, and that's what we did for the first product, the first version of the donation. But as we tried to scale, it just wasn't, and as we tried to start working with companies, it wasn't really cutting it. So last year, through Cleanweb, I met Martin. And he came on board at the beginning of this year to build the new platform, which we launched last month. DoGoodForBusiness.com. Little plug.
So you've got the technology now, and people are starting to use it, and I've seen a lot of pledges and some sort of big sustainability companies and people who are really big on sustainability are now on your Do Good for Business site. And how's that going?
It's going well. Should I explain a bit about how it works? 'Cause
Yeah, I
feel
think
like
that would be a
skimmed
yeah.
over that.
let's-
So how it works within businesses is completely different to Donate by Doing. There's no
Right.
one running marathons or doing mud runs. It's simply teams of employees competing against each other. We're seeing who can do the most pledges and save the most carbon. So, as an example, we had the University of Chester signed up, and they've got each of their departments have got their own page on the site, and students and staff, it's mainly staff from those departments, go onto their pages. They pick an action. We've got a menu of 40 actions, from turning your thermostat down to eating local seasonal food. They pick which one they're going to do. They answer a few questions about the behaviour they're going to change. You try and make that fun. And then it calculates how much carbon they'll save over 2 months. And they only pledge to try doing this action for 2 months. And then we follow up with them at the end and find out how they did. That's then added to the leaderboard, and so their team gets pushed up to the top of the leaderboard. And through doing this, it saves the company or university, in this case, it saves them money because energy and fuel costs money. But it also improves kind of employee engagement and gets the employees more proud to work for the company. ERM have been running a program for a year, and at the end, or they've just signed up to their second year. And at the end of the first year, 41% of the employees said that they were more aware of what their company was doing around sustainability, and 41% were more proud of what their company was doing as a result.
And ERM is one of the biggest sustainability consultancies around.
So if their employees can be more proud about what their own company is doing around sustainability, that's a pretty important, good thing for them. So the value is more than just the energy saving. They're also a lot healthier as a result. I think 67% said they'd improved well-being, and I can't remember what percentage said they felt fitter and healthier as a result of their pledges. One person lost half a stone just by walking up the stairs for 2 months. I think mainly in the tube stations at London. Yeah. So that's why the businesses sign up. And also, so we then offer, I just talked about how we work with the employees, but at the end of the programme, we then produce a report with all of this data around which actions were most popular, which were most successful, how much each of them saved, which, the patterns across teams and offices and things, and we give that to the company. So it really helps them to shape their strategy going forwards and understand where their biggest savings are coming from.
Is that something quite... did you have a lot of experience in sort of the carbon footprinting side of the...
So I'd done a bit of it. It was one of the industries I wanted to go into before setting this up. But I also had a lot of help initially from a great woman called Paula Owen, who's worked for Energy Saving Trust for a long time. But latterly, ERM have, through their pro bono, through their foundation, have offered us support, and they've helped calculate all of the carbon savings. They're also calculating at the moment the water, waste and finance savings of all of our actions, so that's going to be on the site soon, ish. And
some new actions as well.
And some new actions, yeah.
So
they're experts in this, and they've done the calculations.
More different metrics coming in.
Because a lot of people don't really care about the carbon.
Yeah,
so showing other actions, other metrics that...
It's having a range and...
Yeah. I think also, like, carbons are hard. We've had many UI debates about this. That carbon's hard from, like, I can be like, oh, it's going to save 10 tons of carbon. Most people have no idea if that's lots of carbon, a little amount of carbon. Like, there's no scale. So it's getting that type of thing across visually, and obviously people understand if you say it's going to serve a chocolate with rubbish, people know visually like what that is and how much rubbish that is, and a bathtub of water, stuff like this. So
yeah, that comparison, is it do fitness or something? One of the do actions that I've seen about comparing your chocolate or
donuts.
Do diet.
Yeah. So that one, branching more into the health side of things,
Yeah.
which we'd like in the long term to go into, and have actions that are, really helping our health, improve our health as
food
well.
related.
And there is a carbon saving there, because if you're consuming less chocolate, there's a carbon footprint to everything. So you're consuming less, you're saving less carbon, saving a bit of carbon.
Yeah.
But the main benefit is to your health, obviously. And we want to be able to communicate that, because at the moment we can't. So that looks like one of the lowest impact actions, but actually overall for broader sustainability, it's probably one of the higher impact ones.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know chocolate's got like, palm oil or something, vegetable oils, and that's kind of a lot of rainforest being chopped down, and so
Yes.
So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Martin, how did you got involved in the donation? Because you were a co-organizer even before for Cleanweb UK. Before you joined.
I think you, because you stood up the front and did an announcement at Cleanweb, and I'm fairly certain it was the month before I became a co-organizer. Because I became a co-organizer in about December time last year. And I think it was about November that you went, we're looking for a tech person.
Yeah.
And I went and asked you afterwards, like, okay, so what are you running at the moment? And you kind of blanked, look. It's a website!
I was a little bit terrified, because that event was quite a techie Cleanweb. And I remember just sitting there being like, it's all over the head. So yeah, probably blanked.
It might have been the UI UX one as well. So it probably was a slightly techie design. I can't remember the exact dates, but it might.
There's lots of stuff about Arduinos. I didn't know what an Arduino was.
Do you know
I
what
still
Arduino is now? Yeah.
No.
It's fine, we don't have to worry about it. But no, so yeah, and then I joined in a tail end of February.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I haven't really touched Donate by Doing, because that's a separate thing that we've just left alone. And the agency still occasionally does something to that. So I've now built a new platform, which is Do Good for Business, which is designed to scale and be future-proof, so to have the new metrics in it. Eventually it will replace in some way Donate by Doing and any variation in the future. So you might have seen on Donate by Doing at the moment, there's also Do Good for Unis is another thing. So basically when they realised that companies wanted to join, the agency moulded the old platform as much as they could to make it support businesses and leaderboards and unis. But we decided to make a new thing so we could do all the nice stuff like metrics really easily. And it
wasn't personalisable enough. It was quite restricted as to how much we could offer companies, which meant we could only work with slightly smaller companies or companies that were particularly keen and patient, not able to tailor it as much as they'd like. So that led us to start afresh on a new platform.
Yeah. Effectively, you shoehorned an MVP of Do Good for Business onto Donate by Doing's platform.
Exactly.
But again, it proved successful, so we've now gone, fine, let's build the new platform.
But for now, Donate by Doing is living on that old platform for individuals to use for free when they like. But we're not, as a team, we're completely focused on the Do Good for Business side. Donate by Doing is just running itself by word of mouth.
So that platform itself is still up and running. It's still working, and people are actually still.
The idea in the medium term is to build a new version of that off the new platform that Martin's built. So we'll have a white labelled or an API version, particularly for Donate by Doing. But at the moment, it's living on the old platform until we've got the funding in the headspace and the resources
I think that's a really good position to be in, because it allows you to focus on where you could make some money to then sort of build on that later.
Yeah, and I mean, so like we're adding metrics, and we've taken a lot of what they learnt from Donate by Doing and tried improved versions in the new site. So if you go through the pledge and flow between the two versions, Do Good for Business, I mean, I'm slightly biased because I made it. I think it's much better. And we do user testing every week. So we don't just build something and shove it out the door and go, ha, this is better, trust us. We've got someone that does user tests every week, and we take continuous feedback. We get feedback off our clients to continuously make this better. So eventually, hopefully, these improvements come back into Donate by Doing. But yeah, we've definitely, hopefully, improved and made it a better platform.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, our clients that have restarted, that have also used the previous platforms, so ERM and Chester both used Donate by Doing and are now on Do Give a Business, and the feedback is overwhelmingly positive from both of those organisations.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And one of the differences is that the previous platform hasn't got as much gamification element to it, and I think that's something I noticed.
Yeah, it doesn't. We did, as Martin said, we kind of shoehorned some of that in through the leaderboards, but it was quite restricted, whereas this new site we've got on the homepage are pledges of the month, and it shows who's made the most pledges that month. So the top 5 people get like a little spotlight on them. And then the leaderboards are much more interactive on this new site. You can sort them by like how many pledges, which teams made the most pledges, which teams made the most carbon, which teams made the most pledges per person.
Yeah, I think that makes it, that factor itself is pretty important.
That's actually one of the most like frequently requested features, because
you got big teams with a lot of number of people, and it's just
things,
comparable.
Yeah, different. Especially what works really well with companies is when they have their different offices, like London versus Bristol versus Edinburgh, and they're all going to be different sizes. So yeah, that's a good
gets
feature.
Yeah, it's getting the right amount of gamification now. I mean, I have a whole rant about this I end up doing every couple of weeks. There's various sites out there that will be like, well done, you've done some tiny thing, have a badge for nothing. So it's getting that right amount of gamification where we want people to engage, but we want to know why they're engaging and that they are doing a good, positive thing because they're reducing their CO2, they're reducing their water and waste. We don't want them just to be doing this because, hey, we got a badge, that's exciting.
I often think gamification's been slightly over-egged, like people just want to jump on the bandwagon.
It's a buzzword now.
It totally is, and I hate it as a word. Like, it's friendly team competition that we're playing on, and then there's elements of like rewarding people through the process of making their pledges, and we've just we're going to be working with Do the Green Thing to help encourage people, to give people a few like fun little tidbits as they do their pledges, and some shareable things around the actions they've pledged, and the stuff like that maybe some people would put under the gamification banner.
But it's also, I mean, expanding off that, it's trying to get the communities around it. So there's an action called Veg Out, which is Eat Less Meat. It's so, say Hermione's doing it and you're about to start doing it. It's Hermione can give you advice and say like, hey, I found this really great store to buy vegetarian products or whatever from. So it's not just like...
So it's not just competition, there's a lot of almost
collaboration. It's helping each
Yeah.
other and building up these communities around the actions. And so not just within, say, the business, but broadly on the site, so you can go to someone else that's in another company and be like, hey, how did you manage to do this action, and get advice that way.
Yeah, so it's the engagement element to it, and getting people to share their learnings, and
people want to see that they're not the only ones doing this action, and they also want help and ideas from real people that have done them. So building that community kind of kills both birds with one stone.
Yeah, we don't want to be killing things.
We don't want to kill birds. We don't want to kill the birds. That is the expression, though, isn't it? Yeah. I'm getting known for choosing really bad expressions at the moment. But the point being, like, it's showing people that there's a community out there. You're not alone on this. There are lots of other people trying to eat.
The whole sort of social proof behavior.
But at the same time as that, helping people by getting like crowdsourcing ideas for veggie recipes or all sorts. So.
Yeah, because I mean, we'd love to do that, but we're a team of like 5 people. We haven't got enough time while marketing, sales, developing to write 40 do action, complete instructions. So crowdsourcing that, and obviously things change. Like, while I'm sure we've both done veg out at some point, we're not doing it for the next 6 months. It might be that someone else discovers something awesome in that time.
Should we talk a bit about the whole crowdfunding that's going on right now? That's key.
Yeah. So with the business side and having kind of got this new platform up and running, and got some good first clients on board, we've proven that it works, and we want to scale it up. And to do that, we needed to raise a round of investment. So to help us get more feature, get another developer on board, and get the tech further ahead, really, build in some new features and make it more scalable, but also to build our sales and marketing efforts and team. So we're looking to raise £150,000 of investment, and we decided that crowdfunding was the right way to go with that, because we are essentially a crowd-based platform, and we've got a big base of passionate supporters and users who there's no one that would rather have as our investors than them. We want to make sure we've got investors whose opinions we value, who share our vision and our mission, and who can really champion us. The more investors, the better in that sense, because we've got more champions. So that's why we decided to go down the crowdfunding route. So it means that anyone can get involved and invest in and buy a little bit of the donation.
So how much are you trying to raise?
£150,000. We've hit 78,000, 52%.
And that's what percentage of equity was it?
For 12% of equity, putting us at a pre-money valuation of 1.1 million. And yeah, so that's what we're raising. We've already worked with and sold to companies ranging from the Scottish Government to Anglian Water. We've just signed up British Gas, who are going to be launching a pilot or a program in January. And the way we make money, which I haven't explained yet, is these companies pay us a subscription fee. So it's a software as a service kind of platform, a SaaS platform. They pay us a sign-up or a set-up fee, and then a monthly subscription to access the service.
It's worth mentioning that what you're investing in is the Do Good for Business company. So Donate by Doing is run by a separate company now that will hopefully get charitable status at some point.
Yeah.
Not sure when.
Yeah, because it's
next year.
It's kind of a separate sister company, not for profit.
Yeah. So 10% of any profits that are made by Do Good for Business will be donated to Donate by Doing.
Oh, right.
And the social mission is locked kind of tightly into our articles for the business side, well, for both sides. So we very much see ourselves as a social enterprise, but we are looking to make profit at the same time as making social and environmental impact. And the Donate by Doing side sits really nicely next to what we do, because it's consumer facing. There's actually a lot of overlap between the people. We see a lot of the people using it work in the sustainability industry, either as professionals within mainstream corporates or within sustainability companies. And so it acts as a really nice cross-marketing platform. I think half of our businesses so far have heard about us first through Donate by Doing. So, and also, the more users we have, the more expertise we're building up, and the more feedback we're getting on the system. So they work nicely together, but they're also very separate business models, and the investment is definitely going to the business side.
And there are sort of alternative sort of incomes that you could be exploring in the future as well, isn't it? And we already are generating some affiliate revenue. So we've got partnerships with the likes of Good Energy and Ecotricity. We're just setting one up with Zipcar, and companies that provide services or products that support our users in doing their actions. So we've also got an affiliate partnership with Hive. Do you know Hive? It's
online bookshop, much like Amazon, but it's supporting local bookshops at the same time. You kind of collect the books, or they're delivered from local bookstores. So it's basically a more ethical version of Amazon. It's very nice.
Yeah, so
we recommend cookbooks from there, and if people buy them, then we get a small commission. With Ecotricity, in November, we're running a promotion where if anyone pledges to do Clean Your Bills, switch to a green energy supplier through our site, and they switch to Ecotricity, we'll get commission from them. We'll get £40 from them, and the person switching will get £50 of John Lewis vouchers.
Win-win.
So it's great. So through things like that, we generate a bit of revenue, but until we hit real scale and have thousands of users a month, we won't be really generating anything significant there. Also, when we scale, there's kind of potential revenue models through the data we're generating, aggregated data obviously, but we're getting some really good insights into the behavioural patterns.
And we've got, I mean, eventually, hopefully there'll be various other platforms that we do good for unis, do good for charities and stuff. I mean, these are a year or two away. Like, we're very focused on do good for business, let's make that successful. But we've already had, Chester,
Westminster and 30 universities through People and Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have all used the site already, and we've had several more contact us, so there's definitely interest from universities in doing this type of scheme.
And the University of Chester's been listed as a finalist in the Green Gown Awards, which is the big university environmental awards, for their project with us. So that's going to be announced in the next few weeks who wins, but it's obviously working there, so that's good.
So there's plenty of potential customers and clients that are really showing interest in.
Yeah, we've got a really strong growing pipeline of companies that Richard's joined our team last month, and he's helped to get lots of companies in the pipeline. So hopefully in January we'll see many more signing up. Around New Year, getting their employees to record New Year's resolutions on our site will be good.
Yeah. And we've had one or two as well ask about like internationalisation, which is something, again, slightly further down the pipeline, because there's all fun stuff to do with that, about making the site compatible with that. But yeah. So there's multiple.
Lots of our clients want
routes
to use it internationally, and it's quite an exciting opportunity. But as Martin says, there's a few technical things to consider before we do that.
That's why we need to hire more devs, which is crowdfunded.
Yeah. So with the crowdfunding, you go to Crowdcube, and you'll find us on there until early November. So
crowdcube.com/thedonation.
Yes.
So there's going to be a month to go, and anyone who's keen to invest, definitely go to crowdcube.com.
Yeah. A month to go. If we hit our target before then it will close at that point. So not necessarily a month. Better to get in there soon.
Yes. always good to remind people.
Yeah.
What are the sort of challenges do you see coming up now you've going through this investment, crowdfunding period of your the life of this company, and what do you see being some of the challenges in the future?
Good question. The big challenge at the moment is the crowdfunding. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a challenge because it is going well, but it's our big focus at the moment. But beyond that, when it closes, not if it closes.
Say like 5 years time. Where do you see?
Yeah.
Or what's the big vision, I guess?
So the big vision is, I mean, firstly to become the kind of go-to tool for behaviour change for companies, both within the UK and then, as we say, internationally. But for companies and universities, and eventually I really want it to be the go-to behaviour change platform for all sorts of organisations, schools and charities and universities and businesses alike. And really just being the platform that's got all the best practice embedded in it that they can use in whichever ways they want. Helping people to encourage everyone around them to live more sustainably. and making through our small actions, all making the world a bit of a better place.
That's a really good answer. Sticking to what you're focused on. And
Yeah.
So to close up, is there anything else you wanna mention to the to the audience?
I just think to recap that there are 3 ways, if you like what we're doing, that you can do to support us. Firstly, I guess there are 4 actually. Firstly, if you're doing a sponsored challenge, then donate by doing, go raise sponsorship, spread the word of that, because it's purely by word of mouth. So we need you. We need the crowd supporting us. Secondly, if you work for a business that you think might be interested in Do Good for Business, get in touch. Tell them about dogoodforbusiness.com. Thirdly, the crowdfunding. If you want to be part of our journey, I think that's probably the most important one right now. Know probably about it. Then join us. Invest a little bit, anything from £10 to £50,000, whatever you fancy, really. But even £10, every little bit adds up and matters, and every person involved is another boost. So get involved there. And finally, once we've closed that, we're going to be looking to hire a developer and another to grow the team, both in kind of marketing and account managing. So if you're interested, keep in touch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hiring was the one I was going to bring up.
What's that?
Hiring was the one I was going to...
Yeah. So that's donate by doing, Do Good for Business, crowdfunding, hiring. 4 things.
4
You meant
things.
to keep to 1, but I've got 4.
Thank you very much, Hermione and Martin. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I'm sure people would be really excited about what's going to happen in once your crowdfunding comes to an end, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to what's going to happen next. So thank you very much.
No worries, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.